What's up, y'all? Back at it once again. It's a Koski of Fun Day. Dropping this African history for you and yours. Hey, much love for the channel's growing. Much love. Thank y'all for that. Thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for subscribing. Much love to that. And we're going to get down to this thing, West Papua, the genocide that's being ignored by the world. If you need any evidence that the politician in the mainstream media pick and choose the oppressive conflicts to cover in order to further geopolitical ambitions, you need to Google only West Papua. Ever heard of it? Have you ever been sitting at home and watching CNN, BBC, or Fox News and heard a news anchor mention West Papua? It's strange this oppression sees little to no media coverage, considering a recent fact-finding mission conducted by the Brisbane Archdiocese of Catholic Justice and Peace Commission reported that West Papua has experienced a slow-motion genocide. The report warned West Papua indigenous population as risk of becoming an anthropology museum exhibit of a bygone culture. When you learn what fuels the conflict in West Papua, it becomes clear why this issue receives hardly a blink from our peace-loving politicians and media establishment. West Papua is home to one of the world's largest gold mines and the third largest copper mine, known as Grasberg Mine. Grasberg is owned by an American mining company named Freeport-McMoRan. Its reserves worth an estimated $100 billion, and the company is Indonesia's biggest taxpayer. The money and the geopolitics usually beat out human rights. Since the substantial dictatorship in Indonesia annexed Papua New Guinea in 1969, UN referendum, largely viewed as a land grab, an estimated 500,000 Western Papuans had died fighting for achieving independence. McMoRan has given rights to Grasberg when the Indonesian government signed the rights to exact the mineral wealth from the site in 1967. In order to preserve the quite literal gold mine, the Indonesian military uses brute force against the local indigenous population. Benny Wanda, a native Papuan who has campaigned his whole life for independence, details the experience the local population has endured at the hands of the Indonesian military. Now, every morning on the way to their gardens, Benny and his mother and his aunties would be stopped and checked by the Indonesian soldiers. Often the soldiers will force the women to wash themselves in the river before brutally raping them in front of their children. Many young women, including 3 of Benny's aunties, die in the jungle from trauma and injuries inflicted from these attacks, which often involves genital mutilation. Every day, Papuan women had to report to the military posts to provide food for their gardens and to clean and cook for the soldiers. Violence, racism, and enforced surveillance became a daily part of the routine. Australia, a country with a cozy, i.e. confusing relationship with Indonesia, plays part in destroying any discussion on this horrifying issue. In November of last year, the Indonesian government asked Australia to put pressure on Pacific nations who began to show support for West Papua New Guinea's campaign for independence, effectively stopping these tiny islands from interfering in Indonesian affairs. Australia has been quite complicit in the issues to date, even providing the Indonesian military with the equipment necessary to wreak havoc on the local population. Lately, however, there has been some progress. The two countries suspended military ties after the Indonesian official found offensive material at Australian military base, including homework that suggests that Western Papua was part of Malaysia and should be given independence. Regardless, Papua has the highest rate of poverty in Indonesia. It is nearly 3 times the national average. It has the highest infant, child, and maternal mortality rates in Indonesia, as well as the worst health indicators and the lowest literacy rates. Imagine how greatly Papuans can improve their standards of living if they are allowed to control their own resources without the Indonesian military forcibly destroying their lives. Meanwhile, an American mining company continues to make hundreds of billions of dollars at the expense of innocent natives. So I did this video because, not many, as you see, American imperialism still is running rampant. They've been running rampant for a while. This is my first time I ever heard of Freeport-McMoRan and a reserve worth $100 billion. And the company is the largest taxpayer in Indonesia. So this is another American genocide sponsored by American imperialism. To rape the wealth of the country. And this goes on daily. But at this time, they're doing it by proxy by using yellow Asians or Indonesians to do this. The rape part was kind of hard to read because, you know, how they forced the women to wash themselves before brutally raping them. And, you know, he had 3 of his aunties die from, you know, genital mutilation, from them cutting the clitoris off and, you know, cutting up the labia and stuff like that. And, you know, just doing nasty stuff, you know. They wouldn't do that to their own women. I know that for a fact. Also, you know, I want to make sure this understood too, that me and the partner was talking about, that many people understand that white supremacy is like a monopoly. You know, you got the United States, you got Britain, you know what I'm saying? You got the EU, and this really reinforces it because you got Australia still backing them up and giving them military and you know, equipment and stuff like that. You know, and they know that they should be a free people. You know what I'm saying? So all this stuff is forced down, and just, you know, it keeps on perpetuating itself. Anyway, I'm Ikosi of Funday, bringing light to an issue that need to be talked about. West Papua New Guinea, in the gold mine raping. Peace.